Hello everyone, Hoplite Mike back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing an early turns guide for Gaul. So what I'm going to do is basically play through the first 10 or 15 turns on very hard difficulty to show how I think you should strategize in the early game. So without further ado, let's get into the campaign. So this is the starting position for the Gauls. You have 4 settlements in modern day France, 1 settlement isolated in Spain, and another 2 settlements in northern Italy. In this northern Italy area, you basically want to deal with the Romans as soon as possible, move your forces down, take the settlements, and stop them from expanding and becoming too powerful, because they will become a problem in the late game if we don't deal with them in the early game. In terms of modern day France, Britannia start with a settlement here called Samarobriva, and to the east you have Germania. You want to eliminate Britannia off the mainland so that you're not having to deal with 2 factions at the same time. And in Spain, I would advocate just sort of sitting tight, because you want to invest most of your resources in dealing with Rome and Britannia, and having another fight, a third frontier, is going to be quite difficult. So I'd try and maintain alliances here, but we're not going to invest much in terms of resources. So in the first turn then, in Italy, we want to move our forces down and get them in position for taking the Julii settlements. So the closest Roman faction is the Julii. They start with 2 settlements in northern Italy, one around here and another around here called Arretium. They also start with a moderately sized army around this area. Their army always goes to this settlement here called Segesta to take it in turn 1, leaving their starting settlements exposed with small garrisons. So we want to take advantage of that and move our army straight down to get in position to lay siege to Ariminum, which is around here. We also want to move some units down from our towns here. So I'd advocate leaving the barbarian cavalry in both these towns, because what we're going to do is bring this force that starts in southern modern day France east and through this mountain pass. We're also going to take 2 units of spearmen to reinforce. So what we're going to do is, this army is going to come down and take Ariminum, while this army is going to head east through this mountain pass and close off the Romans from this side. So we'll effectively be pinning the Romans in to this area here. And because we are moving this force through east through this mountain pass, and we're going to be fighting the Romans here, you want to keep a decent garrison in Mediolanum so that you can merge it up with the forces coming through from the east and take them on in Segesta. So I'm going to take 2 units of the warband from Batavium, move them down, and I'm going to take 1 unit of warband from Mediolanum and merge it up with the general here. In terms of recruiting then, so I'd keep recruiting in Batavium just to ward off any attacks. So when we do this strategy and we move a big army down to Ariminum and another army to Segesta, sometimes Rome sends up a force to try and take Batavium because it's vulnerable without many units, so I'm going to keep recruiting. In Mediolanum we also want to start recruiting as well, so that when this force comes through the Alps, we have more units to merge, and that gives us a better chance when we're fighting the Romans here in Segesta. So we've done our recruiting, now we move on to buildings. In Batavium, I would go for economy buildings first. So the port and the land clearance give the biggest marginal increase to gold, but the port gives you access to ships, so I'm going to opt for that. In Mediolanum, I'm also going to build economy buildings. This is not a coastal town, so I'm just going to opt for the land clearance. And that's all our actions for turn 1 in Italy. We've moved the troops, we've dealt with recruiting, and we've dealt with buildings. We do also have the spy actually, so we could move this down towards Rome, but it's not essential to move the spy. It just gives us more information on where enemy armies are. So in terms of the next area then, which is modern day France, objective here is to eliminate the Britons from mainland Europe. So the problem with fighting the Britons in the early game is that they have chariots, and the chariots are quite difficult to deal with when you're playing as the Gauls. There's not really an obvious answer in the roster. So what I like to do is get an early meeting hall in Alesia, because that allows you to recruit the swordsmen. And the swordsmen are a lot better than what you currently have for dealing with chariots, so that's the first thing I'm going to do there. Usually Britannia attack Condate Redonum first, so I'd advocate recruiting spearmen here. You could build a wall here, because currently it has no wall, which means that if an enemy attacks it, they don't need to lay siege to it and build siege equipment, they can just attack straight away. But I'm actually going to recruit units in Alesia to build up an army so that we can go for Britannia sooner. And I think Barbarian Cav are the best thing to go for here. So we're down to not much money now, so I'm just going to build an economy building in Nabu Marshes. These two settlements here are not really in any immediate danger, so you don't need to build defensive, you don't really need to build up a garrison, you can just build economy buildings. And in terms of our last area then, Numantia, which is in Spain, we're not going to invest any resources here, and we don't have any money anyway, but we want to invest our resources in fighting the Romans and dealing with Britannia, so this is kind of the least priority area. So that's all the actions for turn 1. We're now going to move on to turn 2. So as expected, the Julii have gone for Segesta. Okay, so we're now into turn 2. First thing we want to do is move this force down to lay siege to Ariminum. We're also going to move this army down to reinforce. So there's quite a small garrison here, it's only 3 units, so it shouldn't be a problem to take this settlement. In terms of other actions then, we want to keep moving this force through towards Italy. And the buildings that we had bought are still currently in development. So all that's left to do is to sort out our recruiting. So I'm going to take 1 unit of Warband and Mediolanum, and that actually leaves us out of money, but that's fine because we're prioritising building an army in this area that's going to be able to assault the Romans from the west. So that's all our actions for Italy. In terms of modern day France, we are low on money, so I don't think there's any units we can get some Barbarian Cav, so I'll actually recruit that. And yeah, that is us out of money now. In terms of Numantia, we're obviously not going to do anything here for the reasons that I mentioned in the last turn. So I'll move on to turn 3. Okay, so we're now into turn 3. So it's time to assault Ariminum. So, as I was mentioning before, very weak garrison here. The town watch aren't much better than peasants, and just have 1 general unit. Got a clear victory there. So it's up to you what you want to do once you take Ariminum. Exterminate gives you a good short-term boost to the gold balance, but it does remove most of the population, which means it's going to take longer to get to the minor city status. Alternatively, you can occupy and keep the population. I'm going to exterminate just because I think the gold boost that you get in the early game is more than worth it. So now that we've taken Ariminum, our next step is to try and assault the Romans over in this area and sort of pin them in towards Arretium. So we now have a wealth of units in Ariminum, so we actually want to move some of these units back to help with the fight that will happen over here. So I'm going to take 3 units and just move them up. I'm going to take this force here and keep moving it through this mountain pass. And we're going to keep recruiting here as well, just so that the army that we're building here is as strong as possible. Also going to recruit in Batavium. Grass is looking quite good, and I'm also going to move the barbarian camp up to Mediolanum just so that this army is as strong as possible. In modern day France then, I think our okay, so our meeting hall still has 1 turn till it's complete. It's probably worth sending up a couple of units of... Actually no, we can send the boat to see what's happening in terms of the units. So they've got a 2 unit stack there. I think that's as close as I'm going to be able to get. But you can kind of see the sight line here, so you can see if anything's coming. And it doesn't look like there's anything coming at the moment. But we do want to get this force out of Valencia as soon as possible to start heading up towards Samarobriva. I'm just going to keep recruiting here, so I'm going to get another unit of warband. And with whatever money we have left, I'm just going to prioritize income generating buildings. I think we could actually, yeah, okay, so the buildings we had made in Mediolanum and Batavium will now be built, so we can build some income generating buildings. So I'm just going to build the farming in Mediolanum, and we're nearly out of money. So I might just build a... Nope, we can't afford land clearance. Okay. Well, I'm going to put another unit in Condate Modernum then, just to build up the garrison here. Instantly ward off an attack. And as before, we're not going to invest any resources in Numantia. So, we've moved all our troops. We've dealt with recruiting and buildings. And yes, so we can now move into turn 4.
Greetings. Our thanks. Greetings.
Our thanks.
Okay, so we're now into turn 4. And we want to keep moving this force through.
Move! Yes! Move!
So we see the Roman force sitting outside of Segesta here. It's about 8 units, including the general.
Yes!
Our force is going to be significantly bigger than that, but of course the Roman troops are better in quality. Going to take most of the garrison here.
Orders! Yes!
And merge it up as well. So by the time that we fight Rome, we should have a stack of about, what's that, 15 units, around that, which should be strong enough. I'm just going to move up the spy to keep an eye on any Roman armies that are moving up. Okay, so they did have an army in ambush there, but it's only 1 unit, so I'm not too worried about that. I don't think we need to recruit any more units in Batavium and Mediolanum. I think what we have should be enough, so what I'm going to do is sort of reroute that money into this area. So we now have the meeting hall built, which means we can start recruiting swordsmen. That's what I'm going to do first. And I'm also going to build a wall in Condate Redurnum. And we're now basically out of money, but I think we've done everything that we set out to achieve in this turn. We have moved our troops. Didn't need to recruit any units, we dealt with buildings. And so yes, we can move on to turn 5.
Greetings. Our thanks.
Okay, so we can now see from having the boat stationed that Britannia is starting to move over more troops, so we need to get after Samarobriva fairly quick.
Greetings. Our thanks.
Okay, so we are now into turn 5, and this is the time where we look to assault the Romans next to Segesta. So I'm going to move the 3 spearmen here into position and assault with this force. You can always check for mercenaries, I don't think there is any ever there, but you can do that anyway, and otherwise we just want to go after this general. So balance of power is evenly matched. We do vastly outnumber them when considering our reinforcements, so I would always fight this one on the battlement.
Today is a grim day for... Await my orders.
Okay, so first thing to note on the battle map is that it seems to be on a slope, so we want to move our units to the top of the slope so that we're fighting on the downslope. And we also need to wait for our reinforcements, which unfortunately have come in from the bottom there.
Ha! The enemy have brought more weaklings to reinforce their line. Warband! 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 Warband!
Going to line up our units. So the good thing is that we have 5 cavalry units, which is pretty strong for a Gaul army. The Romans will only have 2 cavalry units. Don't let them walk so they're not exhausted when they get over here, because I don't think the Romans are going to attack us. Okay, so as we approach here, we just need to be mindful that the Roman generals are by far the most threatening part of their army. These general units could probably take 100 to 200 kills if we let them, so definitely want to pin this unit down with my Barb cavalry here and try and use my 2 general units to take out the other one. I'm just going to move forward here.
Units forward! Skirmisher warband! Rock march! Units! Units double time! Units double! Units march! Units watching! Hurry! Move! Move!
See that we don't let our general die either. If we let our general die, our units will almost certainly rout because they only have Warband only has morale of 4, so they will not last long in a fight if our general dies.
Quickly! Forward! Watching! Forward! Units! General! Hurry! Move! Ready! Watching! Hurry! Move! Hurry!
Going to activate Warcry.
Units! War!
Oh, and they're going straight in.
Units, make haste! Units attack!
I'm going to go for their front line now. Okay, they're sending in all their cav to this side. So we're going to send in all our infantry as well.
The Roman leader
Okay,
has
so that's the
now his
leader dead, which gives us a big advantage in the fight.
This is no longer a battle, this is a hunt. No, a coward chase. The enemy warlord is dead, slain by your brave warriors. Warband! Warband! Attack! Quickly! Warband!
Do and flank where possible. To pull our general out here. So we do have them surrounded, and it looks like most of them are routing. So them losing their general early was a big mistake by the AI there. And Starty there has come back from routing, so I'm going to continue to get as many kills as possible. But yeah, that is the battle won.
This is a great victory. The cries of
So we'll return to the campaign map.
We shall rule.
Okay, so Segesta has no garrison, which means that we can just take it, and we're going to exterminate as well.
Settlement captured.
So unfortunately, Segesta is not built up in terms of being a settlement, so we can't retrain any of our troops. So we'll need to build a meeting hall if we want to do that. Currently have 4 warband and a bunch of cav, which is quite depleted, and then 2 general units.
Orders.
So now that we've taken Segesta and we have a large army at Segesta and Ariminum, we want to converge our forces to take Arretium. The problem with taking Arretium is that sometimes the SPQR will come down to reinforce. I'm just going to bring the spy down, just have a quick look where the SPQR forces are. So they have one force here and another garrisoned in the city, but this force here is not within range to reinforce if we attack Arretium. Basically, if you do attack Arretium and the SPQR force comes up, you almost have to retreat because they have Principes in their army, which are... they're an early game Roman unit, but they are near elite level when you compare them to other factions, so on this level of difficulty, very hard, they get, the buffs are just too much to deal with. But our main sort of goal now is to retrain our armies so that we have enough force to go for Arretium. So what I'm actually going to do is start recruiting in each town. I'm going to retrain where I can. And we probably want to move.
Yes. Chief.
We basically just need to retrain our forces. So Mediolanum has a muster field. So does Batavium.
General.
I'm going to bring the warbands back to Mediolanum to retrain. And then once we've regrouped, we will go for Arretium. So now that the Julii are effectively pinned in, we turn our attention to Northern Europe. So we now have quite a big force in Alesia, and we want to go up and take Samarobriva. We just need to be mindful that we could be attacked from Germania in the east if we leave too little of a garrison. So I'm going to keep recruiting here. And then bring up a large part of this force.
On General. Chief. 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 Yes. General.
I think we'll leave 2 warband and a general, and move the force up to here. And we're essentially out of money at this point, but I think we're okay. So they have a 5 unit stack here, 2 units here, and if we go around to here, we should be able to see what's in the town. It's 3 units and another 7 units outside. So if they amalgamate all their forces, they have a near full stack, which is intimidating, but we need to deal with it somehow. So we're going to keep moving up there. In terms of Numantia, we're obviously just going to leave that as it is, and we are now ready to move into turn 6. Okay, so they are now heading over to Condate Tridonum. We'll start in Italy first. Fortunately, we can't get to Mediolanum. Oh, we can with this force, sorry. So we want to retrain those warband, and in other places we're also building up what we have. So I'm going to keep recruiting.
Orders.
So in order to retrain the barbarian cavalry, we need a stables, and at the minute I don't have the money to do that, and I don't think we necessarily need, you know, to retrain these cavalry to take Arretium. We just need probably the equivalent of a full stack, and that could be, it can be warbands, but as long as we've got generals in there, we'll have solid cavalry units anyway. So next turn I'm going to look to merge the forces and head down to Arretium, which will be turn 7. So the real issue now is in Northern Europe, where there is a stack heading towards
Yes.
Condate Redurnum. Or it looks like there was at least, but I can't see it. I'm going to keep recruiting here and continue to move this force into this ambush area.
Ready to ambush.
Okay, so we are now in position to lay siege to Samarobriva, which we'll do next turn. And in terms of Numantia, we're just going to leave this as we always do. So now I'm ready to move into turn 7. Okay, so we're now into turn 7 and we'll start in Italy. So we now have fairly big garrisons at both Mediolanum and Batavium, and we have a decent number of generals in this army and another one in Ariminum. So I'm going to move, sort of amalgamate the armies.
Orders. Chief.
There's just 2 units there, that's not too threatening.
Yes.
So we're going to also move out
Orders. Yes. General orders. Yes. Orders. Yes.
these units.
Chief.
Just need to check what the movement area on him is. So he is in with range. He is within range of laying siege to Segesta. So moving these troops out is a bit of a risk.
Orders. Orders. Orders.
Having said that, so the troops in Segesta can reach Arretium without having to move them out first. So I'm actually just going to leave them in there. The troops from Ariminum also can reach Arretium.
Orders.
If you look here.
Orders. Orders. Orders.
The only troops that couldn't reach were the armies that started in Mediolanum and Batavium, so we need to move them down first, but I'm happy to leave the forces in these 2 towns ready, and we'll still be ready to siege Arretium in the next turn. So SPQR forces are within range of reinforcing Arretium. So we just need to be mindful of that if we might need to fight to face this SPQR stat. Which I think if we have enough units, it'll be fine, but it will be a difficult fight. So I think that's all the actions in this area. In terms of Northern Europe then, it looks like they still have quite a big stack here.
Yes. Orders. Yes.
I'm just trying to consider if we should lay siege because there are significant Britannia forces surrounding this settlement. I think I might lay off from laying siege this turn, just because Condate Redurnum is not under any immediate threat, so there's no rush to take Samarobriva this turn. But I'm still going to recruit more swordsmen and send up the swordsman and the general to reinforce. You actually do have enough money to recruit another unit here.
Chief.
I think I might save this money. There's nothing that's really worth it right now, so I'm going to save the money and move into turn 8. Okay. The Rome have increased their garrison in Arretium, which makes it a little more intimidating.
Lord.
The Brutii have a force moving up as well.
At your service.
So going for Arretium does seem like a bit of a challenge.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I think what we want to do is basically firstly pin down this Roman army here, and we were going to do that as attack with this stack here, but we do want a general involved, so we need to move the general to here and then attack with this stack here.
Fear us. Destroy.
Yep.
We shall rule.
So that's pinned them back slightly.
Joining forces. Yes.
Still wary of laying siege to Arretium with this Brutii army on the way up. I think it might be best to
Lord. Yes.
just lay siege with this army and this stack as well. So
Yes.
what we're going to do is take this full stack and lay siege to Arretium,
In the siege.
and then I'm going to reinforce it with this army. So that is a near full stack with 3 generals.
Orders.
Could reinforce it, but I think we need at least this garrison if we're going to be able to deal with the Brutii force. In terms of the rest of the settlements then, so they're all showing low public order because they all have really low garrisons now that we've drained them to attack Arretium. So I'm just going to turn the taxes down. Sort that in the short term. So it looks like Britannia have moved to take Condate Redurnum, leaving Samarobriva
Yes.
virtually defenceless.
General.
So we are going to lay siege this turn.
Begin the siege. Besieging
And
settlements.
we'll move this army in support.
Urging armies.
So I mean, they've moved a sizable force down. Probably won't be able to hold with just 4 warbands, but we can recruit a 5th, see if we can at least hold out for a couple of turns, and that puts us out of money. So we're now going to move into turn 8. It's likely that SPQR might come up to reinforce Arretium, so we might get the early SPQR fight. Okay, so the SPQR did not come up to reinforce Julii, which they do in some campaigns. And Britannia have laid siege to conduct Retraining as we expected. Okay, so that is us into turn 9. SPQR did not come up to reinforce Julii, which means that we can now assault Arretium. Balance of power is slightly favoured, owing to our greater numbers and better general command stars. I'm actually going to fight this one in the battlefield. I think Auto Resolve is likely to be a defeat, so let's go into the battle.
Fate has decreed that we must fight today. Victory hangs in the balance. But fight like the wolves you are, and that victory will be ours. Await my order.
Okay, so fortunately this settlement, it just has the kind of basic wall. It doesn't have the stone walls that have the arrows come out. So the most threatening part of the Roman force is their generals. I think they have 3 generals, and they are obviously elite tier cavalry units. We also have quite a lot of cavalry. We have 6 units of cavalry, so I'm hoping that that'll be enough to deal with theirs. And aside from that, we just have a lot of warband, which they're not too bad. The problem is that these warband only have morale of 4, so they do break quite easily, but as long as we keep our general alive, we should be fine. So let's get started on this battle then.
Make haste! Units doubled! Units! War chief! Units! Cavalry! Units form up! Warband! Units! Units group! Warband! Quickly! Units march!
Our warriors have reached the enemy gate with the ram.
So the Romans are lining up with their Hastati abilities to the left.
Skirmisher warband. Quickly.
Yep, so we're in the city now.
The way is open. Let your men
Just gonna
kill
head
all
in with
cowards
the
inside.
warband.
Attacking us. Waiting for orders. Warband. Warband.
Units charge!
Warband.
Units! Units double time! Units double time!
Our warriors have taken the walls. Now the streets will run with blood. We're under attack.
Units charge!
Skirmisher. quickly!
It's going to get quite messy here.
Units,
Try and keep our general close. They've sent their general straight in, it looks like. It's a bit of a cluster.
Warband! Slaughter them!
units,
To enable guard mode and keep
watching.
the general close.
Hurry, move.
Warband! Attack! Warband! Charge!
Units, charge.
Currently we are... It's quite even. I mean, they have put their general at risk by sending him straight in there. So if we manage to kill their general, the battle will be a lot easier.
Skirmish and warband!
So they've got 10 guys in one general unit and 14 in the other. Just going to fast forward this here. Yeah, so their general's now dead, so we now have a real chance of taking the city.
Goats make good eating.
Yeah, so most of their units have routed then, and we just need to send in our own units to chase after them.
Units, charge. Units, double time. Units, charge.
Warband! Slay them! Warband! Butcher them! Butcher them!
Units,
We have 2 units of warband which have been left behind. That is a start eye. And we need to do something with our cavalry so we can take this round to flank.
units, charge. Units, charge.
Mass rout going on there, which isn't too good. So we can now send in our
Units, charge.
cavalry here.
Units, charge.
And some of our units have stopped routing, which is good.
Units, charge. Units, attack.
You have killed the enemy general. Now
Okay,
his
so the
men
enemy
show
general's going to be
fear.
dead.
Now they may turn and run. Attack! Attack!
And this is Rome's last stand.
Units, charge.
We need fight
Okay,
no more.
so we have taken the city. We
Victory is
took a fair few losses, lost about half our army, but victorious in the end.
shall rule. Settlement captured.
So we need to exterminate because we need the money. Yep, so following the defeat of the Julii at Arretium, House of Julii are now destroyed, leaving only SPQR, Scipii and Brutii as the Roman factions on the map. So the best thing about taking Arretium is that it's a tier 2 settlement and it already has the tier 2 barracks and the practice range, so we can retrain most of our forces here, which is what we're going to do. So obviously Ariminum is still a problem because the Brutii have it under siege, but we can reinforce it if we want to.
General, orders.
Yeah, our army is
Yes.
vastly depleted.
General. Yes.
We have our spy.
At your service. Moving into position.
Okay, so now we can see their full force. So they have 4 units of light infantry, a few units of velites, and 4 units of light cav, and 2 general units. It's probably a force of about 12. So I've got 700 men, and we have we'd probably have nearly 1,000 men if we combined our forces. But I still think the balance of power would be Rome favoured.
Lord. Yes. Kill them.
Now they've been ambushed
Lord.
by rebels.
Yes. Kill them. We shall rule. Ambush in place.
Okay, so we can still get. Oh, maybe we can't get through anymore. So the ambush then is a bit of a problem. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is basically let them. If they want to siege us, then we'll let that happen. But I'm not going to sort of sally out to attack. And we need to start recruiting here as well. So get these swordsmen and see if we can recruit in this town as well. Need to start building up our garrisons in these northern towns because they are now exposed to any factions that come south. And at the same time, we just need to start building up the economy, which we have neglected in the last few turns due to the prioritising military buildings. So go for the land clearance here, Mediolanum above the trader. We don't have any units in Segesta either, so we're going to have to move something down. Moving into northern Europe then. So I don't think there's much we can do about Britannia taking Condat Redurnum, but we do need to try and take Samarobriva in response. Yeah, we are heavily favoured, so this should be straightforward, which it is, and we're going to go for Exterminate as well, just to keep the money coming in. So the next goal is to deal with Britannia here. So I would say we have been neglecting the economy for a while because we've been prioritising the military, so I think I'm going to build communal farming here, but still recruit. I don't have enough money for that. Okay, I think what we're going to have to do then is we're probably going to have to swing down this force. I'm going to swing down with this force to try and take out the Britannia here. And as always, we're not doing anything with Numantia. So that's the end of turn 9. Julii have been eliminated, but we still have problems in northern Italy due to the Brutii coming up and with Britannia going for Condat Redurnum. So we'll move on to the next turn. Okay, so our plan kind of worked there. We sent those forces to... We sent this army over from Arretium to reinforce Ariminum in the hope that they would leave, and they have. So now we can head back to Arretium. So I'd say our sort of initial objective in Italy has been met in that we have taken care of the Julii, and now we're just left with the Brutii and the Scipii in southern Italy. But now that we have done that, we want to consolidate what we've got, because we have a massive army in Arretium, another fairly big one in Ariminum, and almost nothing in these northern towns. I want to retrain most of what we have here. To more evenly distribute the forces. So we need at least one unit down in Segesta. We do want to take out Scipii and the Brutii fairly quickly, and then we want to keep heading down Italy, but it's not a massive priority at the minute. We just need to consolidate what we have and sort of get into a stable position. Taking SPQR is not a priority because they generally don't expand. They're not really a threat, they just sit in Rome and you can sort of take them out whenever you want to. The bigger problem just now is Britannia, so they've sent one unit down to Alessia. It's interesting. But we still have this force to deal with. Most of this is damaged. For some reason they haven't attacked, so that's a unit. That's a stack of 10 units versus our 5 warband. So we want to take out a fair amount of units here. So if we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units plus our 5, would that be enough? Doesn't look like that strong a force. They have peasants. The word warriors are quite strong. Can't see any swordsmen. Looks like all sort of tier 1 infantry. So, well, taking 2 generals would be beneficial actually, because that's 2 cav units. So I'll take both swordsmen, both generals, and I'll leave 2 barbarian cav units, and we shall head down the Condat Redurnum. And we do have a bit of money left over, so it's worth investing that as well. Buildings on the go there and here. We want to actually invest in some units. There aren't enough people in the settlement to recruit. Well, I've not really seen that before. Apparently the population is so low that I can't recruit a unit. Anyway, we shall build up our economy in one of these towns then. We'll build the land clearance. And we're now basically out of money, and we can head into turn 10. Brutii are back, it looks like.
We're surrounded.
Which is fine, because they gave us a chance to retrain our troops at Arretium, so we should be able to deal with them better this time. So, okay, so Britannia have retreated unless they're in assault mode. Well, I mean, our mission in France, you could say, has been successful as well then, so we've also effectively dealt with the Britons, although they do have this army heading over. I'm not sure that I can reach. No, I'm just outside. Okay. I mean, this unit here is not a threat unless there's another army following up, but it doesn't look like there is. And Brutii have us under siege with the same army, it looks like. Fortunately for us, we now have a fully retrained army at Arretium. So we'll take most of this. I'll leave a couple of units of spear band, warband. Just to try and ward off the Brutii. Okay, so balance of power is looking quite good, and we do outnumber them by quite a bit. We've got 2,000 troops, so we've got more than double. We have more command stars, so this should be a routine victory, which it is.
Victory! Orders. Move. General.
Okay, so we can move these forces over so that we have more evenly distributed garrisons. So now I would say that we are properly stabilised in Italy. We have successfully eliminated the Julii, and we have sort of fought back against the Brutii to the extent that they won't be able to launch a counter-attack, I don't think. And in modern day France, we have eliminated Britannia from the mainland, which was our objective from the start. And in Spain, we have managed to keep hold of our settlement. Admittedly, we did not get attacked at all, and we have had no trouble over here. So this is the end of the guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you picked up some tips and tricks on how to deal with your different starting positions. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the content, please subscribe. Leave a comment if you had any feedback. Always looking for feedback. And yes, thanks for watching.